Calaroga Shark Media.
I really do enjoy doing this every day. Thank you for supporting the program. And hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, a daily briefing on stand-up comedy, comedians, and the comedy industry, which, let's face it, is apparently a sentence the algorithms love. Happy Friday the 13th to those of you who celebrate. Now, hopefully, between me recording this and you hearing it, there wasn't a horrible drone strike on the West Coast. Jimmy Kimmel said, "We can't handle a drone strike. We barely survived the writer's strike here." And by the way, behind the scenes, there are days where I can sit down at the mic and just churn out script after script. I can tell you today, less than a minute in, I can't speak today. It took me 5 tries to do that Kimmel joke. Jimmy Fallon said, "I read the Trump administration has started to panic about the rising price of oil. Yeah, apparently Trump is so worried he can barely sleep through his meetings." Great joke. I'll do my Oscar preview tomorrow, but I am so excited because you know who's going to be the announcer this year? This is the greatest idea ever. Whoever came up with this, we got to talk about the Stephen Colbert article in a second because this is not really a lead story. This is just Johnny Max is excited about this thing. But you know who's going to be the voice announcer for the Oscars? Matthew Berry. Now, if you're like, who's that? He's the guy from Toast of London. He's one of the vampires on What We Do in the Shadows. He has that wonderful, boisterous voice. Oh, I can't wait. And Victoria Clark in Vulture. She's a big fan. I remember doing Matthew Berry stuff to kill time during the pandemic. She used to write about him all the time. She explains Berry's singular talent for pronunciation has made him something of a walking meme. His talents have already reinvented the way people think about words like New York City and yes.
Okay. Yes.
Hey, Stephen, that was really good. Feeling is here that you could be a bit more positive.
More positive?
Yeah. Really go for it.
You want me to go for it?
Yeah.
All right. Yes!
Very, very good. Let's just try it without the script. Might just loosen you up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, what is it, one word? You don't really need it, do you?
I probably don't need the scripts, it's just a word.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it again.
Yes!
Is that it?
Yes.
Right.
She writes, his inclusion in this weekend's Conan O'Brien hosted ceremony suggests that this year's Oscars will fully embrace some much-needed levity in these trying times. Still, this news has sparked more questions than answers. Will Berry announce the category names? Will he appear on camera? And most importantly, will he be given artistic license to pronounce words as he sees fit? Oh, I can't wait. All right, in Variety, Daniel Daddario throwing the gauntlet down. The headline, Stephen Colbert's long late show goodbye has gone from resistance to ego trip, and Johnny Mac does not disagree here. There was a time when I would have supported Stephen Colbert's candidacy for office, but he has decided to become a Star Trek ruiner, and we don't like Star Trek ruiners around here. Daddario writes, earlier this week, John Lithgow appeared on the show, blah, 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 and did something the guests on the show have been doing a lot lately. He paid extensive tribute to the host. Daddario writes, Colbert's removal from the air when it was announced last July was legitimately seismic news for the industry and for an audience who saw him as a crucial voice for the anti-Trump resistance since the 2016 election. What has ended up making it to air has been an increasingly puffy tribute to the show's own host. The endless bouquets being tossed Colbert's way have started to make the studio smell a bit cloying. With everything else going on in the world, we have to go through a months-long celebration of life for a comedian whose job is coming to an end. This tone necessarily comes from the top, writes Daddario. Guests generally don't just show up on talk shows and spontaneously do whatever they want. Their appearances are choreographed in concert with the show's production team. Watching the show, though, one doesn't get the sense Colbert really minds. Finally, there's the sheer pragmatic angle. Colbert will have a next act, the Sim Future Point. When that day comes, won't it feel like an anticlimax after we've already spent the better part of a year celebrating him? Fellow late-nighter Jimmy Kimmel will be one of the presenters at this weekend's Oscars. That's pretty interesting. Your host is Conan O'Brien. We'll do Oscar stuff tomorrow, but Conan O'Brien is on the Kelce Brothers podcast, New Heights. Johnny Mac will work that into this episode title. Always good for SEO. Hello, new people. Hope you like the show. Push the follow button. At one point during the conversation, Conan interrupts to note that he hears kids in the background. He seems confused. Jason Kelce explains that the kids were playing downstairs. Conan said, if you want, Jason, I will totally scream at them for you. Jason asked Kylie Kelce, hey, which one's making noise? Conan wants to scream at them real quick. Jason said, I'm getting a no from my wife. Conan O'Brien said, okay, I respect her for that no. You know what? It's for the best because your children would be scarred for life that say, why did that orange-haired woman yell at us? And that lady was so mean. I was watching Scrubs with my wife Wednesday night, and they put on a promo for the Oscars, and my wife reacted to Conan O'Brien's appearance saying, he got old. And I'm like, he's 60-something now. How old is Conan? 63? Let me look that up. 62. He'll be 63 on April 18th. I was feeling old earlier today. I went for just routine blood work, annual physical kind of thing. And boy, when I was giving my age, so my birth year is 69, which just sounds like, doesn't that just sound like a zillion years ago at this point? Like even, I'm sure a lot of you who listen, or probably I'm just profiling you born in the 70s. Even if I said like 1970, I would feel so much younger, but that's 6? Yikes. All right, here's some fun. And I like fun. Bill Burr. Remember him? Bill Burr and or his social media team thought it'd be a great idea to go on Facebook and post Rhode Island pre-sales now live with code Burr. And the comments did not disappoint. You may recall last summer, Bill Burr was one of the comedians who played the Riyadh Comedy Festival. You may recall Johnny Mac has said on the record that Bill probably had the worst year of any big-time comedian last year. Just Bill did not help himself. Some of the comments. One asked, did you ask your wife it was okay to leave the house for this? Another said, man, I can't wait to hear the latest wife-approved jokes. One person said, I bet it's a shame you can't perform on Iran now, huh, Bill? A couple of people refer to him as Billy Burka, Billy Bonesaw. Some more straightforward comments. I remember when Bill used to be funny. Now he's just a clown. Clown, dance, another road. I've lost a lot of respect for Bill. I'm not listening to him like I used to. More nicknames, Dollar Bill, Billy Blood Money, Baghdad Billy, and oh, Billy can't admit he's wrong, Burr. Bill Burr's Facebook, in case you're bored. From the New York Times, the headline, Joe Rogan says Trump supporters feel betrayed by Iran war. No way. No way. Joe Rogan, who the New York Times reminds us endorsed Donald Trump in 2024 and said that he still texts with the president on occasion. Rogan said, it just seems so insane. He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars. And then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it. So it sounds like Joe Rogan is surprised that the candidate he endorsed isn't doing what he said he was going to do. No way. No way. Joe Rogan went on to talk about the capturing of the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro. Joe Rogan said, neither thing made any sense. They go in, kidnap him, get him out. This one's nuts. You may recall the president went on Theo Von's podcast at one time. Well, if you want to see Theo Von, head on out tomorrow. It's the Baton Rouge St. Patrick's Day Parade. Theo Von will be joined by LSU head football coach Lane Kiffin. The 41st Wearing of the Green Baton Rouge St. Patrick's Day Parade kicks off at 11 a.m.
Comedy stock market.
Burt Reynolds is the voice of the comedy stock market. Thank you, Burt Reynolds. No, that's actually Burt Reynolds. There's an AI service that for some reason made Burt Reynolds' voice available, and I'm like, I'll use that. On comedy stock market, here's what we do. We try and find value in comedians. Like, like when you buy stocks, you buy low and you sell high. So this isn't necessarily who's good or bad. It's just where the value is. And I think we should buy a little Will Ferrell. Now, I know that sounds crazy because he's a comedy superstar, but he's been quiet for a bit, and he's going to have this Netflix show, and I think the combination of Will Ferrell, Netflix, and the Netflix audience, the kind of people who like Adam Sandler movies, I think that is just going to be a winner. So let's buy some Will Ferrell before everybody else figures that out. Let's buy some Derek Stroop. Did you watch his special during the week? That was fantastic. Let's scoop some Stroop. Let's buy up some Bobby Lee. Now, if you listen to the show, you're like, yeah, we all know Bobby Lee, but nobody else knows Bobby Lee. Like, he's comedy famous, but he's not famous. And if he's going out on tour, he'll be doing a lot of press. And then all of a sudden, people will be like, who's this Bobby Lee guy? So your friends are going to figure out who Bobby Lee is. So I think Bobby Lee is a really good comedy stock market value for this week. And I think we should buy even more Chris Fleming. I know we've been buying Chris Fleming every week, but you saw 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? That was a really good purchase. So let's buy even more Chris Fleming. Everybody seems into him. He's peaking. There's going to be a moment where it's time to sell all our Chris Fleming, but right now let's scoop up a little bit more. He had a really good Jimmy Kimmel appearance that Late Nighter described Chris Fleming as looking like a deranged hybrid of Big Bird and a gender-fluid Howard Stern. And boy, that does nail it. Chris is also on the Wild Card podcast, one of the 290 plus hours of podcasts that I'm going to listen to someday. But I actually listened to things this week because it was warm and the dog and I were out for hour-long walks, which is when I catch up on things. So I'll get to all those. And Conan O'Brien should be on this list. Definitely not a sell, but I feel like everybody else knows about this Conan O'Brien fellow. So I think we're just going to hold on Conan. I don't think there's much upside to him hosting the Oscars this year other than people going, yeah, Conan's great. There's definitely some downside, but nothing makes me think that the Oscars will go poorly for Conan. So let's hold. So the comedy stock market this week is by Will Ferrell, by Derek Stroop, by Bobby Lee, by Chris Flemings. Hold Conan O'Brien. No sells this week. Thought about throwing Gabe in there, but I didn't. South by Southwest Comedy is kicking off. I think this was just added because I had looked at this yesterday and I don't think I saw these here. Bill Burr, who mentioned him earlier, he's recording the Monday morning podcast. He'll be live at Esther's at 2:00, so probably a good opportunity to get some guests there. And then at 8:15, also at Esther's, and here you can hear all the cool just being drained out of the room. Here's the title. Fox Entertainment Studios Comedy Showcase featuring the Dress Up Gang and Friends, hosted by Bill Burr. Do you hear Bill Burr going corporate? Do you hear it? I mean, he had the worst 25. I'm not sure he's having a good 26. At 10 p.m., which is very late. I'd be in bed already. You can head over to Esther's Follies and go see My Favorite Lyrics live with Devin Walker. Talk more about South by tomorrow, as there's a lot in there. And that is your comedy news for today, and I'll see you tomorrow.